This is the Dollemore Daily, and I'm Jesse Dollemore. You remember when Donald Trump promised to drain the swamp? Over and over and over, he repeated this promise on the campaign trail. He swore that because he wasn't a politician, and because he was a super rich guy who was beholden to no person or special interest, that he would eliminate the rampant corruption and self-dealing for which Washington was notorious. Well, he said that, but he also admitted that he only started saying it like he meant it because people like to chant it.
Funny how that term caught on, isn't it? I tell everyone, I hated it. Somebody said, drain the swamp. I said, oh, that's so hokey. That is so terrible. I said, all right, I'll try it. So like a month ago, I said, drain the swamp. The place went crazy. I said, whoa, what's this? Then I said it again. Then I started saying it like I meant it, right? And then I said it, I started loving it. And the place loved it. It's drain the swamp. I mean, it's true. It's true. It's true.
Is it though? Of course it's not. Only MAGA hats are fooled by this nonsense. Donald Trump has not only filled his administration with influence peddlers, lobbyists, and outright crooks, he has also profited from the presidency. And listen, in a futile attempt to avoid seeing comments from people who say, if Trump wanted to profit from being president, then why is he donating his $400,000 a year salary back to the government? Well, Donald Trump was counting on misdirection. He figured by not taking the $400,000 that he'd be able to distract attention away from the millions upon millions upon millions that he'd be raking in due to the countless conflicts of interest he'd be profiting from. However, what Donald Trump didn't count on was that not everybody walks around in a Dunning-Kruger cloud like he does. Well, the other day at the G7 in France, Donald Trump announced that he is considering holding next year's G7, which will be in the United States, at his own property, the bed-bug-rich environment that is Trump National Doral in Miami. And at the conclusion of the G7, Donald Trump took a few questions from the press. Obviously, one of those questions asked was about his intentions to profit from the presidency.
You alluded today, dropped several hints about Miami, about Doral, and hosting next year's G7 at your property. What reassurances, if any, can you give the American people that you are not looking to profit off the presidency?
Well, I'll tell you what, I've spent, and I think I will, in a combination of loss and opportunity. Probably it'll cost me anywhere from $3 to $5 billion to be president. And the only thing I care about is this country. Couldn't care less. Otherwise, I wouldn't have done it.
The length of his rambling, lie-riddled answer is about 3 minutes long. And since I don't want to make you any sicker than you have to be listening to him drone on, I'm going to attach the full clip in its entirety at the end of this video. There are two things at play here. One is the claim that he is selflessly losing billions of dollars from being president of the United States. The other is the outrageous plan, although predictable, to host a major international governmental economic forum at his own privately held property, which would stand to make him millions of dollars in profit. First, let's talk about the asinine claim that he's losing $3 to $5 billion from simply being president. The Washington Post fact-checked this and concluded that Trump offers no evidence for this claim. It's highly dubious, especially when he may not even be worth more than $3 billion. Yes, Trump claims he's worth $10 billion, but Forbes has run the numbers and estimated $3.1 billion. Note that Trump refers to a, quote, loss and opportunity, which suggests he's counting deals that were only a figment of his imagination. And you see, I'm sure you won't be surprised by this. Like most things that come out of the anal prolapsed mouthhole of Donald Trump, that's just a lie. A lie which endeavors to cover up for the opposite outcome. Donald Trump is making out like a bandit in his privately owned business because of his being president. He has made a concerted effort to put lobbyists into coveted positions of power, and through all of his resort properties, he has given foreign governments, special interests, and even Republican members of Congress the opportunity to effectively purchase access to him and his administration by spending lots and lots of money at his business. And up until Donald Trump, every single modern president divested themselves of any interest in their businesses before entering office. Donald Trump promised time after time after time to do this, and then, unsurprisingly, did not. He is still collecting millions of dollars in profits from his businesses. Luckily, there are Americans out there who care about the integrity of the office of the presidency and have been keeping an eye on the situation. There is a group in Washington called CREW, or Citizens for Responsibility and Ethics in Washington. CREW uses aggressive legal action and in-depth research to hold this government accountable. They make public the many ethical abuses of Donald Trump and his administration. Well, according to their research, Donald Trump's refusal to divest himself from his personal business interest has resulted in over 2,300 startling conflicts of interest. I will link below to all of them because I'm only going to get to talk about a handful here. Donald Trump has visited his own resort properties at great taxpayer expense 362 times. That means that Donald Trump has spent almost 1/3 of his time in office not in the White House, but at a Trump-branded property. And listen, this isn't like a couple of rooms from him and a staffer. When the President of the United States travels, he does so with a small army of security around him. A large entourage of senior staffers, including, but certainly not limited to, a national security team, domestic and economic advisors, and speechwriters, as well as others. Not to mention the advance teams which arrive before Donald Trump even leaves Washington. And they all need a place to stay and to be fed while they're there. And they're not personally footing the bill. This is all at taxpayer expense. Remember the controversy a while back when Melania Trump racked up $174,000 in hotel bills for a 12-hour trip to Canada? Or when she went to Egypt and spent $95,000 on a hotel at which she didn't even spend the night? Yeah, it's expensive to pay for a president and his team to travel. Which, by the way, I'm not complaining about. We need to be assured as citizens that our president and their spouse are safe at all times. The problem is that these unusual amounts of time spent out of the White House and in Trump-branded properties are accumulating massive bills, which result in massive checks being written from the United States Treasury to Donald Trump. Also, according to CREW, 111 officials from 65 foreign governments have made 137 visits to a Trump property. And because Trump's businesses are Trump's, the American people have no idea just how much foreign money has been and continues to be spent at Donald Trump's properties. At least 250 Trump administration officials have made 630 visits to Trump properties. This includes high-level White House staff, members of Trump's cabinet, and individual agency employees. So far this year, CREW has recorded 198 visits by White House officials. Ivanka Trump, who has ownership interest in the Trump Hotel in D.C., and her husband Jared Kushner, both senior White House advisors, are the most frequent executive branch officials to visit Trump properties, other than the president himself. Jared has made 28 known visits, while Ivanka has made 23. Throughout his 2.5 years as president, 90 members of Congress have made 188 visits to a Trump property, and 47 state officials, including 20 Republican governors, have made 64 visits to Trump-branded properties, sometimes resulting in state taxpayer funds being spent there. I mean, look at this list of 101 shameless congressional Republican bootlickers who are pouring their campaign dollars into the pockets of Donald Trump's personal checking account. This is not just regrettable. This is reprehensible. Also, thanks to the diligence of CREW's work, we know that political groups have spent almost $6 million at Donald Trump's property since he took office. And as a matter of contrast, In more than a decade prior to running for president, Donald Trump's businesses never received more than $100,000 from political groups in a single year. So, now that he's president, he's been paid $6 million by political groups. And before he was president, no more than $100,000. Donald Trump isn't losing money from being president. He is taking in cash hand over fist. Between the stays of him and his administration, foreign officials, kiss-ass congressmen, and political operatives trying to curry favor, Donald Trump is personally and financially benefiting. And what do you think will be the result of the heads of state of at least 7 countries coming to the G7 next year? And they're bringing with them hundreds of security personnel, staffers, assistants, aides, and other miscellaneous officials. He stands to make millions and millions of dollars off that single event alone. This is why we need to get rid of this filthy, unapologetic, unethical grifter. We need to get back to the days of a president who prioritized leadership over personal profit. Get back to an era of presidential caring about the well-being of our country and her people, and not about their own personal financial gain. We deserve better than this. We're owed better than this. And it's about damn time we start demanding it.
You alluded today, dropped several hints about Miami, about Doral, and hosting next year's G7 at your property. What reassurances, if any, can you give the American people that you are not looking to profit off the presidency?
Well, I'll tell you what, I've spent, and I think I will, in a combination of loss and opportunity. Probably it'll cost me anywhere from $3 to $5 billion to be president. And the only thing I care about is this country. Couldn't care less, otherwise I wouldn't have done it. People have asked me, what do you think it costs? And between opportunity, not doing things, I used to get a lot of money to make speeches. Now I give speeches all the time. You know what I get? Zippo, and that's good. And I did a lot of great jobs and great deals that I don't do anymore, and I don't want to do them, because the deals I'm making are great deals for the country, and that's to me much more important. Doral happens to be within Miami. It's a city. It's a wonderful place. It's a very, very successful area of Florida. It's very importantly only 5 minutes from the airport. The airport's right next door. It's a big international airport, one of the biggest in the world. Everybody that's coming, all of these people with all of their big entourages come. It's set up so, and by the way, my people looked at 12 sites, all good, but some were 2 hours from an airport, some were 4 hours from, I mean, they were so far away. Some didn't allow this, or they didn't allow that. With Doral, we have a series of magnificent buildings. We call them bungalows. They each hold from 50 to 70 very luxurious rooms with magnificent views. We have incredible conference rooms, incredible restaurants. It's like such a natural. We wouldn't even have to do the work that they did here, and they've done a beautiful job. They've really done a beautiful job. And what we have also is Miami. And we have many hundreds of acres, so that in terms of parking, in terms of all of the things that you need, the ballrooms are among the biggest in Florida and the best. It's brand new, and they want that. My people wanted it. From my standpoint, I'm not going to make any money. In my opinion, I'm not going to make any money. I don't want to make money. I don't care about making money. If I wanted to make money, I wouldn't worry about $3 billion to $5 billion, because that's what, I mean, at some point I'm going to detail that, and we'll show. But I think it's just a great place to be. I think having it in Miami is fantastic, really fantastic. Having it at that particular place because of the way it's set up. Each country can have their own villa or their own bungalow. And the bungalows, when I say, they have a lot of units in them. So I think it just works out well. And when my people came back, they took tours. They went to different places. I won't mention places, but you'll have a list because they're going to give a presentation on it fairly soon. They went to places all over the country. And they came back and they said, this is where we'd like to be. Now, we had military people doing it. We had Secret Service people doing it. We had people that really understand what it's about. It's not about me. It's about getting the right location. I think it's very important. Jonathan?